I was chasing down papers. You'd give your tenant a document to fill out on their own, and they would either not give it back, or they'd give it back with just all checks, which you knew they didn't check anything at all, or they'd get it and it was written in the margins, and extra supplementary pages of every scratch that you can imagine. And I was like, I mean, we can just take some pictures, some comments. Surely we can put this together and make it simpler.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Riley Holt, is a property manager and founder of Property Lenz. Riley, welcome to the show.
Dylan, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you on here, Riley. And I always like to start off at the top of the show by asking folks how they got into the real estate space, in your case, in property management.
Yeah, so I kind of fell into property management. Had a really good friend. I had worked with him on the tree. He has a tree service, but he'd been in business for 30 plus years and accumulated lots of rentals. And I had a couple of rentals before I came to work for him. So I had a little bit of sweat equity knowledge, kind of managing my own. And he had mentioned to me one day that he was kind of fed up with, he'd been through like 3 or 4 property management companies. And I was like, well, I mean, I've managed some properties before. I mean, how hard can it be, managing, going from managing like 2 or 3 to like 45. And so I kind of jumped head first into that. And it's been fun. I helped him with some acquisitions of some new properties. We did some flips. We did a lot of remodels because he had a lot of deferred maintenance. So that was a lot of my time was spent kind of getting those up to snuff, getting the market rent back up to where it needed to be. So that's kind of how I got into doing this full time.
So you were active as a property manager, but then also looking at acquisitions as well.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a unicorn in the space, I guess, because I had several wholesalers I'd worked with, and they would bring me some deals, and I'd bring them to him and say like, hey, well, we could probably make this work. And so we actually closed on a flip yesterday. I think he netted almost, I think maybe 90,000 on that flip, which was a really good deal.
That's a good deal.
But usually it's the majority of them aren't that good, obviously. But typically it was just getting the rentals he had, back up to a quality condition where you could get a quality tenant in there with better rents than what he was currently getting, for sure.
My background is in the single family distressed seller space. So working in many cases with flippers. Are you looking at single family right now as far as acquisitions? Are you looking at multifamily as well? Because when I'm thinking property management, I'm thinking multifamily for the most part, but it sounds like you're active in single family as well.
The majority, so the breakdown of what I manage right now, the majority is single family rentals. But he also has some warehouse spaces. He's got about 13 or so of those that I manage. And those are If we did more, it would be the commercial warehouse space, because it's usually guys who want extra space to tinker on cars, or maybe someone to run a small business out of.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
But you can command a pretty good rent for the space. It's very little to no upkeep.
Yeah.
And people are knocking down your door to get a space because they're tired of trying to work on their car in their driveway and the neighbors are yelling at them.
That's exactly right. I was actually talking with multiple people just this week about the growth in industrial real estate, and I would put that in the same category. But I do want to pivot here and talk about rental inspection software. We were talking before the show, Riley, about just how sorely this is needed because typically, when a tenant moves out or moves in, there's this long, like 2-page checklist that we're relying on in order to see what is or isn't where it should be.
Right. Yeah. So I kind of fell into this. There's a saying I heard, and it's, people don't do hard things because they know they're going to be hard. They do them thinking it's going to be easy, and it turns out to be hard. It's a little bit what happened with the software thing. But yeah, so jumping into rental management, getting software set up. Lots of great softwares out there for property management, your CRMs, your rent collection, your notifications, things like that. But I just really struggled to find a rental inspection software that was user friendly, out of the box. I want to put in the property, I want to put in the tenant, I want to do the inspection and go. And I tried everything that I could find. And everything just didn't scratch that itch that I was looking for. So I was like, well, I'll just build my own. How hard can it be? And I have learned more in the last, year and a half than I ever thought I would on software and pricing and, coding and all the things. So it's been an adventure for sure, but it has become a passion for at the moment. I can say that.
When we talk about this process, we were laughing really before the show about how antiquated the process has been really until now. Like right now, I'm sure there's folks across the country who are doing the same thing, like relying on pencil and paper for people to note what's wrong, which ultimately lends itself to disputes when people move out.
That's exactly right. So yeah, I was chasing down papers. You'd give your tenant a document to fill out on their own, and they would either not give it back, or they'd give it back with just all checks, which you knew they didn't check anything at all, or they'd get it and it was written in the margins, and extra supplementary pages of every scratch that you can imagine. And I was like, I mean, we can just take some pictures, some comments. Surely we can put this together and make it simpler. And so that's what I did whenever I created Property Lenz. That's the name of my app, with a Z, by the way. Um, and and so I did that, and I've been very pleased with it, and I'm glad I did it because again, there's definitely a need. I've talked to many landlords, property managers, and they're all like, man, this is what I've needed for sure.
Now, when we talk about the exact process, if we can get a little bit granular for folks who are not on their phone right now, they're trying to envision how this works. Is it a matter of the tenant being able to document or the landlord being able to document the before and after, if you will, before moving in versus when they're after? And then they have this record in the app so that there's no like discrepancy. It's, hey, here's a photo that we took in the app beforehand versus after.
That's exactly right. So the thought is this app is tied to the security deposit, pet deposit, whatever deposits you hold, and you have a precondition. They take this over. Sometimes with a rental, you'll fix, obvious glaring things, but you might not fix a scratch on the wall or a few little nail holes here or there. And so
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
when the new person comes in, it's good to have a record of what is existing damage so that when they move out, that person is not held responsible for something that happened maybe with a previous tenant. And so the inspection is tied to the deposit. You have your move in, you compare it to the move out. We also have an online portal where you're able to go in, you can run a comparison report, to note discrepancies. You can run a deposit withholding report from the online portal as well. So you document what has changed, what you're deducting from that, and then you're able to run that report, send it to the parties that be, and they get a clear. There's no disputes. There's no, well, hey, that wasn't like that before. It's like, yeah, it was, because here's the picture. Here's a picture that I took, time stamped, geofence, that this took place at this location at this time. Here's your signature that you signed off on this report. And then here's my report that I did afterwards. And you moved out this day. This is when this was done. No funny business happening here. It's ironclad.
Yeah, book it. There's no discrepancy. It's here's a photo, here's a photo. Let's compare the two. What I think about when I think of the typical process here is there's so much, of, well, I didn't see this here, or this wasn't there when I moved in, or was there when I moved in. And so when you're dealing with that, it can make the whole process, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, of moving in, moving out, seem overwhelming for both the tenants and the property managers, to the point where like people even delay it to the last possible minute in order to get things sorted, because they just know it's going to be chaotic.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's the deal. You're able to show up on the property by the time you're done. Say it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. You're done with the inspection in 20 minutes. You've already got all your notes and stuff. They're PDF ready. You can send it to an owner. You can send it to a maintenance guy to say, hey, these are some things I found that need to get fixed. You can send it to the tenant and say, hey, these are the issues that we found. You can run your report. It streamlines everything. It makes everything, 80% faster than the original process.
And if we can, I'd like to get a little bit granular about the process of building an app. So it sounds like this was a new endeavor for you, and maybe not coming from the engineering background, right? But having to do a lot of you know engineering related work or managing engineers. What was that process like, and what were the major obstacles in building an app?
Yeah. It was is an eye-opening experience for sure. I started out, I kind of tried to source some app builders. You just kind of Google, who can build an app for me, So I kind of started there, ultimately settled with a local company, who oversaw that. They got me to kind of an MVP, which is a most viable product, where it did the things, but it just wasn't quite like what I wanted. And to be honest, this all started with a little sketch sheet with a couple of little squares, and kind of wanted this to look like this, and if you take a photo, this is the workflow. So I just kind of built out kind of what I wanted this to act, feel, and do. And so the first company kind of got me to that MVP stage, and then I kind of took over development and said, hey, look, this is fine, but it needs to be top level. And so I sourced my own developer. There's several websites, Uplaunch, Freelancer. And so I said, hey, I'm looking for someone to help me polish this app that we've got. Found this lady, and she has been a rock star. And we've got version 2.0 coming out in the next 2 weeks or so. So I'm excited about that. But it is a slog. It is a lot of back and forth. It is hey, you said this, do you want it to do this? And you have to think through things you wouldn't think you would have to think through, because the computer just does what you tell it to do. It is not able to infer what you're kind of wanting to do. So you talk about granular. You have to get very granular when it comes to talking with a developer and making sure things are working like they're supposed to.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I know it, Riley. I know it. Outside of being a realtor, I'm also in a software engineering boot camp. And part of me is thinking like, oh, this is a totally unrelated skill set here. But now especially with AI, I'm seeing more and more adoption in the real estate space of some of these really cutting edge tools. I'd say even more so than most people are aware of. People think of real estate and you kind of think, old guard, very traditional, slow growth. But it does seem to me that there's this huge influx of real estate tech happening like right now.
That's exactly right. And, you mentioned AI, like we've got some cool AI features coming out soon where you're just able to walk the room, talk and describe what you're seeing and just take pictures on your phone. When you're done, all that information goes directly into the report in the exact spot it needs to go to. The pictures are categorized because it's able to determine, hey, that's a floor he took a picture of, that's a baseboard, that's a wall, so all those things. So, and that's going to make it even faster than it already is. So you can walk a 4-bed, 2-bath home in maybe 10 minutes and be done, which, normally you have your drive time, you have your paper form you'd fill out, and then you've got to take pictures, and then you got to go back to the office and you got to upload those pictures and you got to associate them with that document and you got to email the appropriate people. So, original time frame, you're looking at 2 hours, 2.5 hours from start to finish, and dropping that down to maybe 10 minutes.
It's a big deal. You know, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, people can cut into that. They say, okay, well, I don't have time for this. That's how these corners get cut. I've seen it happen, to the point where on both sides, I've seen, property managers maybe accept damage that they should not accept because they're just trying to move on with the process. And then, tenants maybe have to pay for something that they didn't do, but because they didn't document it properly. I do want to pivot a bit here, though, Riley, and ask you about being a property manager in general and what the business is like, especially getting started as a property manager. Any advice you would have for folks who maybe want to get into property management?
Yeah. So I would say that it's easier managing 40 plus properties than 4. When you first start out, there's just so much you don't know. You don't really have processes in place. You don't really have contractors lined out. So, every time someone calls you with a problem, you're kind of in panic mode, like, crud, well, I got to find somebody and I don't want them to get mad. And I want to make sure I get this, who am I going to call? Are they trustworthy? Are they going to show up on time? And then once you kind of get your systems established, you have your kind of contractor list that you vetted them. And we all got burned. You get somebody, you use them, you think they're going to be great, and then next you just can't get hold of them anymore. And so you kind of weed those out. And so, after managing 40 plus units, you just, someone calls with a toilet problem, I say, give me a second. Call my plumber. He's already lined up. We have a good relationship. He always kind of bumps me up to the front of the line, gets it addressed, and it's the systems get easier, which makes the job easier. Again, having the warehouses is nice because again, there's very little to no things that can go wrong. It's 4 walls and a roll up door. So, besides the roll up door coming off a chain every now and then, I rarely get calls out there. And so, yeah, it is one of those things. It has its challenges. Every job does, it's kind of, you have to choose your hard, managing 4 is hard, managing 40, 100, 200 is hard. But if you have your systems in place, you just realize you just gotta manage, roll with the punches, and everything's going to work out at the end of the day.
I think, when we talk about property management specifically, most of the time people are thinking, well, you know, it takes a lot to be able to manage, hundreds of tenants specifically in some of these larger multifamily, because everyone might have, their own complaints. Even if the property's perfect, running seamlessly, tenants are going to have issues, and you're just constantly dealing with that. You're like the complaint line, if you will, for the property. So I understand how difficult that could be.
Yeah, and my favorite phrase is, what does the lease say? If the lease says you're responsible for this maintenance, or we're responsible for that maintenance, you live and die by the lease. And so as long as you kind of have to train your tenants, say, hey, look, this is the lease. I'm going to walk you through this lease. This is what we will and won't do. This is what you can and cannot do. As long as you kind of live and die by that, you kind of eliminate some of that gray area and just say, hey, what if the lease says this? Get a nice addendum list after you've been doing this for a while, and if someone clogs up a toilet because they shoved a bunch of baby wipes down there, you're like, that's on you. You're the one who did that. I pointed out to you, and you initialed by this clause that said any issues related to toilets that you cause, you're responsible for that bill. I have zero pushback when that happens, because I just point that out and they're like, oh, well, you're right.
I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. We are coming up on time here, though, Riley. Where can folks go if they're interested in learning more about Property Lens?
Yeah. So my website is Property Lenz with a Z app.com. And you can learn more about us. You can sign up there. We got 3 tiers. We got a free tier. So if you're just starting out, you have 3 properties. You can manage 3 properties on our app for free. And then every 10 properties you add, it's $5 a month. So I wanted to make it cost effective, but also user friendly, and something people are really going to want to adopt.
Thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Dylan, I appreciate it. Anytime.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.